Welcome to the 2019 episode 1, version 1 of the K-Rad radio podcast. I'm your host, Chris with a K, and I am here with the amazing Tim Hardy. How you doing, Tim?
Good evening. I'm doing very well, Chris. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, hey, I am super pumped to be back on, to have you guys here with us. Tim is an amazing musician, and he also has his own company that he runs called Satori Toys. Am I saying that right?
Satori Toys, yes.
Perfect. And this is going to be a great episode, so I'm really excited. But yeah, I guess we wanted to just kind of get a baseline of who are you. And first of all, can I just compliment the fact that your entire kit that you're blessing us with right now is awesome. I love your style.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, I'm trying to dress up for the occasion, of course.
Well, we appreciate that.
Actually, this is just what I was wearing today, so I just always dress like this. I'm one of those people.
Well, I dig the vibe. I did the vibe. So a little bit of backstory. I met Tim when I was looking for a couple locations for the Chandler International Film Festival going on in downtown Chandler. We're looking for a couple places to screen some directors' films, some indie films that we've got going on. And I met Tim over at this space called Gangplank.
Yep, Gangplank Chandler.
What is that? Can you explain what the heck that is?
Yeah, so Gangplank Chandler Gangplank as an organization was founded in Chandler about 10 years ago. I've been involved with them for about 8 years. Chandler was the first location. They actually have a location in Queen Creek and Avondale now as well. Each one is independently run and operated. And it's basically a not-for-profit co-working space. So, 10 years ago, there were no such thing as co-working spaces anywhere. And they wanted to create a space for kind of like for people who have technology companies, instead of having to go to, say, the Silicon Valley, like, if you want to have a tech company, you can't be here in Arizona, you have to go to California, right?
Right.
So I've met a lot of great companies that have actually been started out of Gangplank, so it's more technology focused. And the idea is to have, a space that companies can kind of come and startups can mingle and, meet, people that are kind of, doing the same thing that were where they were at. We just had a big startup kickoff event that was kind of like a Shark Tank type thing, and we actually ended up giving away $15,000 in just grants to 3 different businesses.
That's awesome. So it sounds like an incubator.
It is it's an incubator, but the incubator, space. Like a lot of incubators now are like, great, we're your incubator, give us $10,000 and we'll help put together things for you, right?
Right.
Or pay us $2,000 a month to, have space. So I think the idea was really to kind of make it for, people that are bootstrapping and trying to get off the ground, that you don't have to have a big investment. We have a lot of people that have day jobs and, they come into Gangplank, either as their office, so instead of having telecommuting, they go to Gangplank. And other companies that use the space full time that actually do contribute to the space to help, it does cost money to run it. That actually, so if you want to have desks and offices there and say, hey, we got like 5 employees now, we're making money, we're trying to grow, then, well, yeah, we have, you can get space as well and do that.
That's so cool to feed the local community and just to be able to have a space for people to work. That's really
the concept
huge.
that really came up with it was social capital. This is the idea that, instead of you can contribute to the space with money, but you can be part of the community. You can help the space if things need to be done. You can help do it. If you have a skill that you can contribute, you can do that. So yeah, community.
Cool. I love it. I dig it. I think that's awesome. Is that where Satori Toys? Can you talk a little bit about that a little bit? I was digging through your Instagram and it was I saw the 3D printed page and all that. So what is that?
I got interested in 3D printing from Gangplank actually. Someone donated a 3D printer, and so I taught myself how to use it. And started printing things, and I have a 12-year-old son, and he always loves finding things online to print. So he'll be like, hey, let's print this, let's print that. I'm like, okay, sure. So we started printing things, and one of the things that we printed, he got into like fidget spinners were really popular.
Right.
Were these things that are called, they sometimes call them fidget cubes or flow cubes or infinity cubes. And I can grab one later if you want to see one. I think I have one with me.
Please, that sounds awesome.
And it's a cube that is hinged and you can fold it infinitely through itself. And I just kind of was like, oh, this is the coolest thing. Oh,
is it kind of like those, have you ever seen those? I think they sell them for like people that have ADD and they just need it's like a cube that has like a switch on it and like a toggle.
It's kind of
in that same kind of vein.
It's in almost that, yeah, and it's in call either a flow toy or a fidget toy type environment. So
Very cool.
something like that.
Very cool.
They are popular. I did have one of my customers had a child with autism, and they had tried all the things. They tried fidget spinners. They tried the fidget cubes with the little rolly thing on it. And she saw mine, and she got one for him, and she said that he likes it better than any toy he's gotten from like a fidget perspective, to be able to have something like in class with him and be able to use it.
Ah, that's so cool. I feel like as a kid, especially like in my generation, the whole Adderall and Ritalin thing was really coming to the forefront of, oh, you have a kid that has hyperactivity, here's a drug,
Right.
put him on him. And I'm not sure if that was as prominent like 20 years ago.
It was. I mean, yeah,
That
it
just
was.
seems-
It's been around for a long time, and it's unfortunate, I think, but it's the way things are done these days, right?
Unfortunately, I feel like there's a bit of a renaissance though, in people trying to come up with alternative solutions for, anxiety and for managing mental health. I think in general, at least I hope so, that there can be a renaissance with that.
I think there is. The name Satori is a Japanese term that we usually translate as enlightenment or a moment of insight. It's from Zen
snap.
Buddhism, actually, which I don't know that I don't have anything on my Instagram, but I do have pictures going back many years ago. I actually really got interested in what I'd call consciousness studies, things like meditation and yoga and things like that. And Satori is one of the toys I kind of got from that. So I thought, Satori Toys, this is like, something that you can get like kind of like that flow state going.
Right. And I think that the whole concept of forcing yourself to deal with your thoughts and to find a way to block out those negative thoughts and the anxiety, it's almost like meditating is like doing a arm curl or like a bench press for your mind when it comes to like mind over matter and pushing yourself through to a higher plane of just overall quality of life, because I feel like you can be your best friend or your worst enemy and you never spend any more time with anyone else in the whole world than yourself. So how you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself, I think is very important, and meditating helps a lot. At least it's helped me.
Yeah, depends how you define meditation. And what I think that they found, at least I found for myself, is when I was doing that, I would actually go to monasteries and do anywhere from 1 day to 7-day retreats where I'd just be going and sitting with monks
that's
for,
so cool.
it's called monastic, like basically Buddhist monastic practice. And what I found is that you kind of get out of the point where you're literally talking to yourself, and you just kind of start observing things instead. It allows you to not be as reactionary to things that are going on in your life. You just can kind of sit and observe them and go, oh, okay, well, it bothers me or it doesn't, but I don't have to jump up and run off and do something about it right now.
I need to do that. I definitely need to do that. I feel like I was talking about this the other day.
Well, you do music though.
I do
right?
music. That's my.
So here's the thing. So the state of flow states is they've documented this in doing like MRI studies and like the EEG studies and things in meditating monks. And what they found is that these states are similar no matter what the activity is. It's the focused activity of being in that, what we call in the West flow states.
Got it.
Right, so that's what people really crave, and I found that what really connected me actually to playing didgeridoo and playing music was as soon as I would start playing, I'd be like, this is practice space, right? This is practice headspace. It's
Yes.
like you can kind of just drop into those, because what we say we want meditation, what we say we want is to kind of turn off that monkey mind momentarily, where we're not worrying about the groceries we have to buy or the dishes that have to be washed or what happened at work today or what's going to happen tomorrow. We just kind of
day-to-day anxiety.
The day-to-day, yes,
yeah, all
yeah.
of those little things that pins and needles. And I agree 1,000%, because when you're in flow with, like, even if you're just jamming and you're in flow and you're in sync with the other
especially
artists,
when you're
that
jamming.
is phenomenal. That's
Especially
like the
when
peak,
jamming.
and you're just like,
yes, peak experience, right?
peak experience. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I agree with you 1,000%. And I think that's really cool. The fact that you've gone on and done the meditative for that long, in terms of like the monk monastery situation.
That was a whole that was a really intense part of my life. Yeah, I mean that was just
that's
like
intense. Like I was talking about going completely like auditory blind for like not listening to podcasts, not listening to audiobooks, not listening to music for like a week. And then
That's
I thought about
interesting,
it, and I was like, that's a long time. That's a long, because I listen to music like there's always something in the background for the most part throughout my day. There's like moments throughout my day where like it's not there.
Yeah.
But going for a week long, just without music, everything else fine. But then I thought about doing that, of like going for a day or 7 days with no electronics, no outside stimulus, and I feel like it would be really refreshing and reset. But like, what does that do to you mentally? Like, it's got to be a gymnastics.
What I found, at least in myself, when I was doing those things, is it takes you a little while to come back. The way one Zen teacher put it is that doing a retreat like that is basically like emptying out your apartment, right? Like, okay, we're just going to take everything and move it out. And now when you come back to yourself, you can say, what do I want to put back in it?
It's like emptying your cup to fill it back up.
Exactly. If your cup is full, you can't, but nothing else will fit. That's where the whole concept of like the emptiness and things like that kind of come from. I remember I stay by the mic.
Take notes out there. I think we could all use a little
emptying.
With something a little bit more positive, a little bit more self-love, self-care.
Yeah.
So that's huge, man. That's awesome. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about your experience with the didgeridoo. Where did that passion come from, and where do you see that, progressing, I guess, for yourself?
Let me think here. So I started playing the didgeridoo about 9 years ago, and a good friend introduced me to them. And then I met a maker that actually made agave didgeridoos here in Arizona. And he invited me over, and he had, 20 or 30 didgeridoos that he had made out of the agave cane, the agave stalk.
Tequila.
Yeah, it's the same thing they make tequila out of.
Awesome.
Although with tequila, they actually have to kill it before it can actually get to that point. All the sugar that you get in the agave plant that goes to make tequila is actually for growing that giant stalk they make.
Interesting.
So that's
I've
the
been
last
on a tequila
thing.
farm in Mexico, but never went that deep.
Yeah, I've actually been in one also. The city called Tequila.
The city was called Tequila.
The city was called Tequila. Yeah, I went to the Salsa plantation. Actually, it was it was fun.
I love Mexico. I've only ever been to Puerto Vallarta, Rocky Point, Puerto Penasco, and then just like pass through a couple other towns. But every time I go, people are so nice, and there's so much fun stuff to do, and dollar goes further, which is cool. And it's just a nice escape, and it kind of puts things back into perspective, and it's not too far away.
Yeah, that's I like Mexico. Actually, I have a lot of friends who've been doing performances down in Rocky Point, and I've heard that seems like they always enjoy their performances down there. So
Wrecked at the
very
Reef.
good things. That
Place.
sounds familiar. Yeah,
yeah.
that place?
I think yeah. That place. I've got a couple friends over spring break that's like, it was like you either go to Lake Havasu or Rocky Point or wherever the hell out in Florida, but those two places are definitely the hub for spring break. And I remember my friend telling me, he's like, yeah, it was incredible, bro. There was like $5 and it was unlimited drinks. He's like, I had like...
Well, that's great if you like getting really drunk.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess that's if that's your bag.
Yeah.
Check out Rocky Point over spring break.
But yeah, so I just kind of, he had heard that I was interested in playing, and I'd kind of like, hadn't learned how to circular breathe yet, and that's a big part of playing the didgeridoo, is called circular breathing. So with that, you need to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth rhythmically to create a continuous tone. So
interesting.
That I basically picked up in he gave me 3 didgeridoos to take home with him or with me, and I took them home for like a week or two and said, okay, I like this one, I want to buy this one, and went back and he gave me another lesson. I learned how to circular breathe that night, which I guess is very unusual. Most people
Can you explain circular breathing? I can't wrap my head around that. What do you mean with circular breathing? Does it have to go around? I'm envisioning you having to blow around the tube.
What you do is you actually, instead of you have mouth breathing and nose breathing, like that's mouth breathing, right? You can breathe in and out through your nose. right? Or you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Got it.
Right? So circular breathing, that's all you're doing is doing short, quick breaths. If you take shorter breaths and breathe quickly, you're going to have a fast rhythm. If you breathe slowly, you're going to have a slower rhythm. If you go too far, you'll just literally pop off into the didgeridoo because you're out of breath. It would be like, and all of a sudden you need to breathe.
So it's kind of like if you've ever been drinking a substance or something, or drinking a whatever, and you've breathed in through your nose while you're drinking something.
Yeah.
Like this,
Yep.
this similar.
Yep, you are kind of using your belly and your cheeks as kind of like a balloon. It's almost like bagpipes, except you're the bag, right? You have to be able to briefly take a short breath. So
That's cool.
that really connected me actually to my meditation practice, because one of the things they say when you're meditating is your mind wanders off, right? Come back to your breath. And actually, one of the most basic practices they teach you is just counting your breaths from 1 to 10. And you'll find it's even hard sometimes to even do that. You'll get to 5 or 6 and then lose track and be like, oh crap, I'm like, blah, 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 right?
Right, the thoughts.
The thoughts come
back in. Yep.
And so you just start back at 1. And so it kind of connected me to that state, to that kind of flow state of being able to go, okay, well, I'm just doing this, right? And the thoughts may come in or out and you just ignore them and just play. So I was just doing it as like meditation, literally. And I was just carrying didgeridoo with me. And when I started playing for my friends, they're just like, you're really good. You need to go perform. I'm like, I've been playing like 3 months at this point. I'm like, I'm not going to go perform. I'm literally playing 3 months. And people kept telling me that. So I started going to open mics.
Ah, that's awesome.
And meeting bands. And all of a sudden, you know, there were bands going, hey, that's really cool. Why don't you come, you know, what key can you play? Can, you know, we're doing the song in E or D. Can you like come and, you know, jam with us? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I started like doing live performances with bands. And of course, meeting the great musical community we have here in Arizona.
No, I know. And that's what I was going to say is like, there's got to be a short list of didgeridoo players in Arizona.
There aren't many of us that at least that are like stage performers.
And
right?
it's such a cool sound. Like, I'm excited to hear you play because it's one of my favorite things. It gives you that ASMR. Ooh, it's so it's so ominous. And yes.
That's just throat singing, but
but we'll let the instrument make the noise. But
yeah.
No, I think that it's really cool with what you're doing, and I was really intrigued too because we kind of connected over a beer or two over at the Perch, and we're talking about kind of the evolution of a regular like live band performance and how a lot of that now has incorporation elements of electronic music. And I thought it was even so interesting that like the one didgeridoo player that I've ever found in my entire life is also dabbling in electronic music, and how that's you know, that crossover from the natural instrument sound to incorporating electronic elements for that to be more current and prevalent, I think is something that a lot of other bands and a lot of other musicians are starting to accept more easily into their hearts. There's still a lot of purists, obviously, but I talk about it all the time on the podcast, and I think that it's so cool because your brain craves something different, and if you can switch it up to something you've never heard before by combining those elements of the electronic music, like a synthesizer or, you know, a live played loop that you're doing, that takes talent to do. And I think that when you incorporate those two, it's really cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the feedback, and you know, I'm been doing that type of live performance, and also because of my background with playing in live bands, it's being able to, you know, bring musicians on or be able to jam and do those things. And I think there's actually something really special about when you're jamming with a band and really actually get in sync with each other. That's just kind of magical.
It's the best. Like when everyone is like in their flow state with their instrument and it's in the pocket, and everyone's hitting on time, and it just, you can feel it. It feels different when you're playing. And it's almost like you can't quite hear all of the elements because they're all blended so perfectly. And then when you're in it, the feeling of that is just incredible. So, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
I did want to know what your opinion of using music as therapy and as a tool to help with mental awareness, mental healing. And we already talked about it a little bit with kind of like the yoga and the enlightenment kind of aspect of getting into those flow states. But I noticed on your Facebook, you were saying that you're a music healer and, you know, wanted to know a little bit more about what your perceptions are as using music as a healing effect for people, who it could help, what that could be applied to.
Well, I think music in general is healing just for everybody. And one of the things, when I first started playing, I was playing more yoga studios and things like that. So we do what they would call, you know, sound healings, where we would, you know, go and I'd either be playing with didgeridoo and singing bowls, or I had some collaborations I did with a couple people that were gong masters, which made some incredible magic,
Magic.
Like, yes, you know, having like 2, 3, you know, 50-inch gongs and having those play, and then playing didgeridoo like over people.
Yes.
And it was really fun. And I'm going, gosh, this is great, but you know, it's such a small venue. You know, you're literally, I'm like trying not to step on people as I'm like walking around.
Right.
And when you're doing a live music venue, you can have as many people as can fit in the place, which could, you know, and it really, I wanted to combine kind of, how do you take that type of sound, quote unquote, sound healing and yoga sound healing and sound therapy type experience, and bring that into a mainstream venue, right? One that has rock bands and electronic music and things like that. And that's what I kind of have done with Manifest Sound, was to take and combine like singing bowls and didgeridoo and electronic music elements as well, and keep it as a live experience. So actually, you know, doing everything is live. So doing live looping and do things. I don't use a laptop on stage. It's all literally live production and live performance.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love that there's a difference between pressing play on a laptop and looping something live.
Yes. Yeah.
Not to take away from that, but I respect that a little bit more. I think that's cool.
Well, I have seen some people that do some pretty amazing live electronic performances. Like, I mean, where they're not just hitting play and playing someone else's music, but they're actually producing. It's all music that they've written and produced, or they're entirely live mixing it, where they're saying, okay, here's all my tracks, and yes, I have Ableton, yes, I have a laptop. E-Allo is a local artist. It's really, really neat. Ambient.
What's his name again?
Her name is E-Allo.
E-Allo.
E-Allo, A-L-O.
Very cool.
Yeah, and she's done a few shows with her. And yeah, she does all her own composition, then does like a live Ableton performance where she mixes everything on the fly, and it's like really cool stuff.
No, that's awesome. Have you ever heard, I think it's FKJ is his name. And he does.
I don't think so.
That's
like
so
local?
cool, man. Yeah, I'll have to send you. I'll post a link.
Post a link.
I'll post a link on the YouTube. But it's the same situation where it's like he'll start off with a simple beat on the loop, and then he'll go pick up a bass, and then he'll loop the bass line, and then he'll go over to the piano. Loop the piano.
Yeah, I dig that stuff.
And then he'll grab like the freaking saxophone.
Yeah.
And just rip.
Oh, nice.
And like that is so cool. And that's something that I think is really unique and new in its own space, just with the advances in looping technology and just in, you know, production quality. I think in general, you know, in the recent years, I think like Tosh Sultana on the guitar. Do you know who that is?
Nope. Sorry.
You love her, man. She's so awesome. I found her. She's like, there's this video. It went viral. Like, I think that's how she got discovered. But it's just her loop station on some crates, and her in her living room, and she just loops her first like melody guitar, and then once that's done, then she loops over a couple other like accent notes on the guitar with like a different effect, and then she comes in and then she loops in a beat with it on her looper. And then she starts just wailing on it and adjusting. And it's so complicated because I've tried looping myself, and it's to get everything in time like that and syncopated and layered on top of each other is so hard. It's so difficult.
It takes a lot of practice. I remember when I first started doing looping, I remember always thinking, gosh, this is off. Like the timer's off or the beat's off. I'm going, oh, wait, no, I'm off.
These
right?
are machines, highly precise machines.
And I'm not going to argue with it. Like, you can't argue with a click track, right?
Unfortunately not.
No.
Unfortunately not.
But yeah, I think live looping and looping in general is a great, just a performance tool to get ideas that are in your head out, right?
Right. No, because it's as a person that might not have a full band to practice with all the time, or if you just want to get a quick idea down and finish writing, like how else are you gonna, unless you have a laptop and GarageBand or some kind of production studio, if you have a looper pedal, you could literally write, your rhythm and your lead on the guitar, or, multi-layer instrument situation, depending on what your setup is. So,
well, you could not only write it, you could perform it by yourself, right?
Yeah. No, 1,000%. Have you ever been to those like restaurants that do live music, or they've got it's like a guy in a corner with his own PA, and he's got a loop station, and he plays for like 2.5 hours, and it's like all cover songs, but it's really good. Like, depending on where you go, like, but these guys have got it down now with these loop stations.
Yeah,
it's a one-man band.
That's one-man band thing now, right? And I guess I was playing, and a friend of mine who was playing after me was walking in with his like wife or girlfriend or whatever, and he's like he's like, yeah, I was telling her, like, we're coming in, and he's like, oh, we got to get in there. I can hear Tim. He's playing now. And they hadn't seen me yet, and his girlfriend was like, well, who's playing with him? He's like, no, that's all him. I'm like, yeah.
I can just imagine, like, if someone hadn't seen you in like a long time, and like they just like you invite them to a show or something, and you're just like decked out in like a robe, and there's like black neon lights, and your beard is like braided, and you're just like, it's like all this ambiance. Like, how awesome is that to walk into?
I mean, I had a friend who was in a cover band for years that came out and saw me play, and he was like, wow, yeah, you like got everyone dancing. Like, we had a really hard time doing that. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad they liked it. Thank you.
No, different kind of talent, I think. But that's really cool. I want to run into a new segment that we're trying out for this year in 2019, and that is Explain the Gram. And I was digging through your social media, and I saw this random video of you at a Banana Gun show. Yep. And for those of you that don't know who Banana Gun is, they're an amazing local band here in Phoenix. They're super talented musicians. I've never had the pleasure of meeting them. Would love to have them on sometime, but all the feedback I've gotten is that they just put together an awesome show, and their sound is great. And it was kind of a little like, a little woozy. So I wasn't sure, like, what's the deal? Explain the Gram. What was going on?
I absolutely love those guys. I mean, like, I've known them. They're one of the first bands that I met when I started playing didgeridoo. They invited me on stage and actually played a couple songs at several shows with them. They're doing this song called Hal, which the lead singer had jokingly said that he wanted 1,000 didgeridoos on it, and they were recording it, and they didn't know anyone that played didgeridoo. And then they met me, and this was like probably 2 or 3 albums ago for them. Right. So then I'm like, I was playing Hal with you guys, and
Playboy Man Baby. There's such a vibrant scene in Phoenix of artists that we have to choose from, in just so many different genres. But I feel like their sound represents a basic, like, tribal Phoenix desire. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's an interesting thing. Those guys, ever heard of Haymarket Squares?
No.
They're kind of a punk grass band.
Sick.
Folk punk type stuff.
Sick.
Yeah. So, yeah, those guys are great. Also from like a Phoenix perspective, and kind of, I think, of people that are really kind of creating a real cool original music in Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have everything here, so it's kind of cool. I really do like the Phoenix area, and I've been in Tempe for about 8 years now. And I was almost ready to move back to California, and then I found Tempe, and I'm like, okay, I found community, I found the crowd here that's cool. So
yeah, Tempe's awesome.
So
ASU and like just the whole city landscape, and then when you connect with the right people, I just love college towns. Like, who doesn't love a good college town?
They're interesting because they have the college there. They also have like a naturopathic hospital that's hosting a psychedelics conference in like
like
this
on
year.
microdosing. I have a buddy that's doing that.
No,
He's
there's a
microdosing on psilocybin mushrooms, and that's been the trend for a lot of entrepreneurs.
I've heard
Silicon
about the
Valley.
whole microdosing thing. I've heard some podcast about microdosing. It's like it's getting really popular now.
Yeah, it's supposed to. From what I understand from it, is that you take a small dose of the mushrooms to where it's not where you feel like you're on any kind of substance, but it's enough. It's almost like if you were to like think of your consciousness of like an iceberg, and like if you took a certain amount, it would be apparent in like on your iceberg or whatever, like where you could see it. But you just microdose to where it's beneath the surface, so your brain still feels the effects, but it doesn't have the psychoactive effects that people always talk about.
There's a whole organization that's working on legalization now for it, actually.
Yeah,
which is pretty. So I definitely support. They put it to a vote, I'll vote for it. Right?
Yeah, I think as long as it's not hurting anyone and it's going to promote, like if you can look at the positive side effects of a substance that's natural, comes from the earth, and it does something to help people. And if it's like, I think they're even looking at ketamine for PTSD right now.
They have ketamine clinics
for
in Arizona
soldiers.
here now,
And
actually.
What's that?
They have ketamine clinics for soldiers or for people with PTSD and trauma. They actually do ketamine therapy. It's not covered by insurance, but they actually have legal. It's legal. You can go and they do basically a microdose of ketamine and observe you for a little while, and it's supposed to help with PTSD. I haven't tried that myself. What I'm interested in.
Would be fun.
The way that sensory deprivation tanks are gaining popularity now.
Mm-hmm.
The true rest places, right? These are places that you can literally go into a sensory deprivation tank, which I haven't tried that either. I want to
try that too. I've never done that.
That seems pretty interesting.
Because it's a disassociative. Like a lot of certain psychoactive substance, some people have said that there's that level of disassociation that comes from that. And if you can do that naturally and it has therapeutic qualities, like why the heck not? And I think that's just at the forefront of like aiding in the enlightenment of your understanding your body and yourself and your mind and having all of those be interconnected.
Oh, they do call those things.
State.
Yeah, I mean, the experiences I had during meditation at times, were pretty trippy. I mean, like, it was like you would kind of have what they call them stateless or selfless states, where you do temporarily drop away for a second, then you're back, and you go back and go, and you come back and you're like, oh wow, that was really cool, right? That's the peak experience stuff. They actually say one of the big things they talk about a lot in actual monastic training is they say you're not supposed to attach to peak experience, right? Because then you're always chasing something.
Right, chasing that next high.
Yeah.
Don't do that. No, I agree. I felt that with acupuncture.
Yeah.
In the ear. It's gotten like a similar...
That sounds pretty intense. I don't know about a needle stuck in my ear. Maybe on the outside.
Yeah, it was weird. I'm going to be honest. I was at a festival or like a fair, and there was a free like booth, and I'd always wanted to try it. And I was like, oh, this seems cool, thinking that they're going to like do my arm or like my leg or something or whatever, like my shoulder. And then the next thing I know, they're like, all right, lean back. And then it's like to the ear. And
yeah, I think in if free is before acupuncture or sushi, I'm out.
It's like the buy one get one free LASIK eye surgery.
Yeah, it's like no. I thought about getting LASIK actually, and they told me I was not a good candidate. So my pupils were too large.
Interesting.
Yes. I checked two different doctors. One said no. The other said, well, we can do one eye, and that way if you go blind, you still have one good eye. And I'm like, I'll just wear glasses.
I think I'm good.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I can wear contacts, wear glasses, I'm good.
Yeah. I wear contacts. I never take mine. Like, I take them off. Man, I have a brutal...
Have you ever scratched your cornea with them?
No, thankfully. But
I've done that.
I knew someone that worked at an eye place, and like an eye ophthalmologist place. And they had a patient come in that literally never took their contacts off for an entire year.
That's bad.
Yeah. And when they came in, they took the contact off. They had to literally peel it off with with tweezers.
Yeah.
And when they peeled it off, the entire iris turned white.
Yeah.
So all the bacteria like stuck in.
Yeah,
their eye.
there's
I don't know if they
something.
went blind or what.
Here's your public service announcement, right? So if you wear contacts, try to take them out at least once every few days, preferably once a night. Otherwise, what will happen is I had 1 month contacts. So these were literally how these were FDA approved to wear them for 30 days at a time and then throw it out and put a new contact in.
That's still sketchy. I would take them out.
And so then I had a doctor tell me, an ophthalmologist tell me, no, you do not want to do that. It's really hard on your eyes, actually, even though they say you can do that. I don't recommend it. But what happened is that my eyes were really dry, and I went to take out my contact lens, and the contact stuck to my eye and scratched my eye, scratched my cornea. So, yeah, I had to, and I was actually, at the time, I didn't even have glasses. Like, I literally did not own a pair of glasses at the time, and I was on vacation in California. And it was
like a fear of mine.
Yeah, and so I went to like a 1 hour place, and they said, yeah, you'll be fine. I literally could look at my eye and look like a piece of sandpaper just going, and yeah, just felt like you constantly had like dirt in your eyes. Like, this sucks.
That's awful.
So yeah, after that, I got a lot more careful, and I tried to take my contacts out at least every other day or so. And lately, I've just been wearing glasses, and if I do sports or something, I'll throw a pair of contacts in. But for the most part, I don't mind having the glasses now.
Yeah, I like to switch it up. It's weird because your eyes definitely change over time. So it's like, if you don't go in for your checkups or whatever, then you're like, I think I'm seeing all right, but then you don't realize until you go in and you're like, wow, I actually have not been seeing right, even with contacts for like the last 3 months. So get your eyes checked.
Get your eyes checked.
Get your eyes checked.
Take out your contacts.
I see you. So this is the part of the podcast where we ask, what's the rad? What's the rad, man? So I am having this be a new segment that we're going to try and incorporate to every single podcast, because the K-Rad Radio podcast is all about anything and everything that's rad, primarily focusing on music, because I'm a musician and artist, and I truly feel that in order for us to become a more evolved society, that there's something locked inside of music, in that connectivity of the fact that you don't need, like, music breaks down every barrier known to man. When you have a concert, it doesn't matter what social class, what race, ethnicity, gender, everyone is just there for the collaborative experience because they like the music, because of the vibrations that these people are putting together. That's what sound is. And I feel that is at the core something that we need to evolve into a more enlightened society. And that's definitely part of the reason why I wanted Tim on here, because I feel like you connect with that, and a lot of musicians do. But I wanted to get your take. What's the rad? What's your deal?
Boy, that's a tough question, man. Let's see. I think just trying to be really present when you're playing music, or whether you're being, just in a normal job or whatever, just trying to take everything and just not allow it to beat you down. Don't allow, the world to get at you too much and distract you from whatever your purpose happens to be for being here, right? I think music is a great extension of that, because it allows you to disappear into an activity and kind of step the ego and, not be in that thinking place for a while. So, I think for this year, I'm working on some new manifest sound material. I'm actually got a new studio, and I'm doing some work and possible collaborations with some people that include violins and cellos and things like that. So there might be some 2 or 3 piece band things coming out this year, which I'm excited about.
Awesome.
We're really hoping to get another We Are Hologram. I don't know if we talked about We Are Hologram yet or earlier.
Explain We Are Hologram and Manifest Sound a little bit for those that aren't too familiar.
So Manifest Sound is my solo music project, and it's where I play didgeridoo, and then it's kind of combining sound healing with electronic music. It's generally in the more kind of like mid-tempo, down-tempo stuff. And I do it as a live loop performance, and the We Are Hologram, on the other hand, is kind of more traditional music in a way, in that there's nothing electronic about it. But we're doing pretty interesting kind of more orchestral arrangements. So we have a cello, we have violin, we have rhythm guitar and piano, and that started last year as part of, we did a couple songs, our original songs, for a play called The Goblin King City, which was based on the movie Labyrinth. Just talked about before, yes.
Shout out to Bowie.
Shout out to Bowie, yeah. So the song we do is called Derek Starchild, and basically it was inspired in a dream about David Bowie from Richard Nihil, who's I Am Hologram, who's another local musician here, and was one of the writers. So he wrote like the lyrics and a piano part for it. Just like he had this dream about David Bowie, and then like wrote this song.
Wow,
and it's been
powerful.
So it's really cool. So we were in the studio earlier this year, and hopefully we'll be that's getting mixed now, and we're going to be doing like either a single and then maybe like a little CD release. We have 2 more songs we're working on right now, so hopefully we'll get like 4 or 5 done, like an EP length, by the end of the year.
That's awesome, man.
So that's exciting.
That's awesome. And are you recording most of that over at the Phoenix Conservatory of Arts?
We are, yeah.
Very cool.
So far.
Very cool. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much. I am excited because the next part of this is that we're going to actually hear the didgeridoo. So we're going to set that up. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and sign off for right now, and we'll insert that clip here for you at some point during the podcast. And Tim, thank you so much.
Chris, you're welcome. Thank you very much. That was
Awesome.
a pleasure.
This has been the K-Rad Radio Podcast, first episode 2019. Tim Hardy, Manifest Sound, Satori Toys, Phoenix local artist, elevating the music scene and consciousness near one ear at a time. So thankful for you to come on, and hell yeah.